All right, so the influence of media and television on social perceptions of crime and violence. Influence of mass media on crime deviance. The influence of mass media on the perception of crime and deviance is that it can cause panic, fear, and can change the way people perceive certain things. It can cause levels of fear in society, but can also influence more crimes. People might be more scared to walk alone at night. They might not want to go out once it gets dark outside. They start to be more vigilant of their surroundings when they go somewhere. Some people may avoid watching the news and media altogether to avoid learning about the crimes that are happening. This can be dangerous as they don't know what is going on in the world, but some may do it for the sake of their mental health. Constantly hearing about crimes and deviance can lead to negative perceptions about the world. Does mass media create unwarranted levels of fear of crime in society? Mass media can create unwarranted levels of fear of crime in society. In the article Crime Cultivation Comparison Across Media Genres and Channels, in the years following the formulation and the cultivation hypothesis, research continued to focus on TV fiction. The original cultivation argument that TV is most certainly positioned to facilitate cultivation outcomes that has not been dismissed, but radio, newspapers, and film and new media have shown to also cultivate fear and perceptions about crime. As early as 1952, newspaper readers, viewers of crime, were more congruent with newspaper content than FBI crimes, indicating a newspaper article effect. Issues and influence fear of crime perceptions. Nonfiction genres appear to be more effective than fiction in creating perceptions of crime, fear of it, and protective conduct. Higher evaluations of the effectiveness of the criminal justice system and higher estimates of non-Caucasians committing crimes are linked to higher exposure of network news. The influence of one dependent variable, possessing a gun, was predicted by the exposure of reality television. The issue with that is that gun ownership is more prevalent among those who watch television more. How do perceptions of crime reinforce social labels and stereotypes in society? The perception of crime reinforces labels by framing a certain group or certain race to a certain crime or suspicion. According to the study in the article, The Influence of Exposure to Depictions of Race and Crime in TV News on Viewer Social Judgments, white people still hold racial prejudice, especially when it comes to the idea that Black people are aggressive and violent. White male peers on TV, and actual Department of Justice arrest data analysis of television news regularly shows that Black males are overrepresented as perpetrators and underrepresented as victims. Black suspects are more frequent than white suspects, depicted in these news stories as anonymous, dangerous, and under the control of the police. In reality, according to the U.S. Department of Labor statistics, Blacks are 4 times more likely to be shown on television news as criminals than as police officers. Blacks are underrepresented as victims compared to on-the-air counterparts. In addition, they are overrepresented as predators. Issues and influence of deviant social labels. According to the findings of priming studies, exposure to racial and ethnic stereotypes in the media can affect how people perceive people in different races in the real world. This can lead to misconceptions and preconceptions about racial and ethnic minorities. Blacks are more likely to be suspected of violent crimes when there are news articles about crime. Whites are more associated with nonviolent crimes. This can cause misconceptions and stereotypes about minorities and races. It can cause someone to be wrongfully accused for a crime, or can cause them to be hurt if they are suspected of committing a crime. It can cause the person to feel uncomfortable, but they can also be viewed differently by society because there are those misconceptions from the media. Important ideas and concepts research presented in the articles. In the article, Crime Cultivation Comparison Across Media and Genre Channels, the most important concept in the article was that TV news exposure exhibited statistically identical behavior to drama exposure. It was inversely connected with the effectiveness of the criminal justice system and support for politicians who are tough on crime, whereas attentiveness was positively correlated with both of these factors. Mental disorders and violence, and partial picture and context. The most important concept was aspects of public policy in Western democracies are to preserve The unlikely related relationship between mental health issues and risks are informed and encouraged by this irrationality. Political repercussions for the people with mental illnesses are likely to persist to be unfair and discriminatory. The influence of depictions in race and crime in TV news on viewers' social judgments. The most important concept in this article was that there are stereotypes the media portrays against blacks when it comes to crime. Whites are associated with nonviolent crimes. Constitution of crack mother icon. The most important concept in this article was that crack mother is a symbol and amalgamation of earlier stereotypes that serves as a shock to predictable reactions from audiences and spread racial and gender ideologies. So those concepts compared to the textbook. In Crime and Cultivation, compared to what was found in the textbook in Chapter 2, was that certain groups will use power that organizational networks give them to do things and other people cannot, and then to justify and excuse them as they are valuable and necessary, whether it be in the carrier's case occupational crime, corporate crime, elite deviance, international terrorism, or politics. In Mental Disorders and Violence compared to the text in Chapter 4, things were earlier considered to be crimes, sins, incompetence, or bad manners, and now are frequently seen as diseases that need to be treated. The influence of exposure to depictions of race and crime compared to Chapter 3, the cultivation of sowing the seeds of discontent, detailed perceptions of unpleasant interactions that would-be white supremacists have had with people of other races and ethnicities. In the context of home, workplace, or military, it is essential to this process. The argument that white people are not treated properly and are negatively affected in a variety of ways by these memories. Constitution of Crack Mother compared to Chapter 5 in the textbook. The code of the Trey Elijah was thought to be a crucial understanding of African American transit code of the street thesis contends that a subculture permits individual understandings to know how to use violence when mostly certain to retain personal statement is the root cause of violence in African American neighborhoods. And then this is the statistics that I found from the Bureau of Justice Statistic website. It's just the exposure of race and crime. It's comparing African Americans to white men. And then this is the example that I found in the book. The theoretical perspectives that best describe the influence of mass media. The theoretical perspectives that best describe the influence of mass media on social perceptions of crime and deviant behavior is the stain theory. The stain theory by Robert Merton agrees that deviance is a part of society. Deviance is a functioning part of society. According to Robert, since we are born, we strive to have the American dream. When the American dream doesn't happen for more people, that is when they become deviant and crimes happen. And there's 5 responses to having a gap in socially acceptable goals, and not in a way that is in a way that it's not socially acceptable. Conformity. People who conform decide to not veer from the path. They use socially acceptable methods to achieve their goals to the fullest extent possible. Innovation. People who innovate use illegal or immoral measures to achieve goals that they cannot achieve through legal ones. Ritualism. Those who ritualize set lower goals. They can achieve them in ways that are considered acceptable by society. These society members prioritize conformity over achieving a constant dream. Retractism. Some people withdraw and question the aims and methods of society. Some homeless people and beggars have turned away from society's ideal of material achievement. Rebellion. A small number of people rebel, substituting their own objectives and methods for those of a society. Terrorists or freedom fighters want to overthrow society's objective through unethical methods.